You are listening to the Savage FINcast Retro, Episode 11, Vanguard, Issues 1, 2, and 3.
Chicago. A criminal mastermind called Overlord held our city in his terrifying grip. Ordinary cops were losing the battle against Overlord's super freaks and mutants. Then, a miracle happened. When I found him, he had no memory of his past. I helped him find an identity and a life. Now we have a fighting chance. Now we have the dragon.
This is the Savage FINcast, the show that has mistakenly been beaten up by Supreme yet again. I'm Raven Perez.
I'm Jim Purcell.
I'm Craig Olson.
And you're joining us for a Savage FINcast Retro, where we take a look back at Savage Dragon issues from the past, as well as spin-offs, crossovers, related series. And we discuss them, talk about them, we get into the past. I think we got a really awesome couple of shows here for you. Take it away, James.
Well, we're going to be looking at Gary Carlson's Vanguard, which is specifically issues 1, 2, and 3. Normally we'd only do 2 issues, but we feel we need to get through Vanguard a little quick. So we're going to just do 3 per episode while we're doing the Vanguard stuff. Because there's a little bit to get through, and there's a little bit to talk about, because the unique thing about Vanguard was every issue has a different artist. Mm-hmm. And so every issue kind of has its own unique look, for good and for ill. So I think just going through them and just kind of seeing what we like, what we don't like, deciding whether or not changing your artist every issue is a good idea or not, I think is going to make this interesting in general.
Yeah, it'll be a big departure, I think, because really, to be honest, I feel like mostly these Vanguard issues are about, oopsie, there's a fight, and like that's almost the plot of every single one of them. So yes, almost
that dang language barrier.
Yeah. If only my helmet was here. But like, yeah, and then for the most part, that's it. But the artist change actually really kind of makes it interesting. That's really like probably what will be the biggest point of conversation, honestly.
Yeah, in many ways, I think it's why it makes it as memorable as it is.
And I think that it was a misstep.
Indeed. So, just to recap, we actually read Vanguard 0 back when we reviewed Savage Dragon number 2, because it was a flip book on that issue. And so where that issue left off, Vanguard had been fighting a bunch of simulations of superheroes, only it turns out the last one he fought was Supreme, but it wasn't a simulation, it was the real Supreme. And so basically this first issue picks up directly after that, with Supreme and Vanguard facing down each other on Vanguard's satellite.
I will say, we are not doing page by page, but I would be remiss if I did not praise it. I love the fact that if you fold issue 1 out, you get a triple gatefold cover.
We got your trifold cover, yes.
Oh,
it's just it's strange.
Is it?
It's weird, but dude, I love it. Because this way you get a triple gatefold without having to like have it all accordion out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's on the back cover. I mean, how is that unusual? Because normally I expect them to have folds on the front and the back cover for a 4-fold.
Well, I get what Craig means, because normally the back cover is not part of the pinup.
No?
Well, if it's a double like thing, like Kaiju Max does that to this day, where the back cover and front cover work together for a double page spread.
Right.
But usually if you're going for triple gatefold, what you've got is 2 folds on the interior and then the back is something else.
Indeed. Okay.
Instead, on this one, you lay your book flat. For the listener who is only listening with no issue in hand, you lay your book completely flat out on a flat surface, pull the front cover out 1 flap, and so the back cover is in your left hand, the front cover is in the middle, and then in your right hand would be the interior flap, forming the third part of this 3-page, like, you know, triptych kind of. it's cool. It's weird. I really love it. I think when we were talking about mini posters in earlier Savage Dragon issues, I was saying this is a strength that print has that I wish would return. Like, I wish more comics would do weird little shit like that.
No, yeah, I mean, I just thought it was strange to give it a trifold cover. Like, it seemed like it didn't, like, doesn't add any. Like, I think it's one of those things of the 90s where they had the money to do it, so they just did it. But it's nothing, like, it's not advertised or like, oh, you know, whatever. Like, it's just something a little added, I guess. It's just, you don't see it anymore.
You're just jealous Dragon never got a threefold cover.
That is strange if you did it for Vanguard, why you wouldn't do it for, like, Dragon.
It is. You know what's funny? Like, almost 250 issues, and it's a gimmick that has not been applied to Dragon. Like, you know, Eric was talking about, like, oh, I wonder what gimmicks I can still, like, tackle or approach. Triple gatefold cover.
No. You got to go one further. Every page is a fourfold.
Oh, Jesus.
And you know what? The worst
That'd
part
be a mess.
Yeah, well, you know what the worst part is? That's already been done. I think a Wolverine issue did it.
What?
Yeah.
What a nightmare.
Back in the 90s, I think there was a Wolverine issue where every page was a fold out.
Wasn't there like a Madman issue like that where like it was like one long fold out or something?
Like the whole issue?
I think there was.
I think the last issue of Promethea by Alan Moore, I think it's supposed to be a poster. Every page like connects to become a poster. But I haven't read it, so I'm not certain of that. But I know there was something weird about it like that. So there's things you can do that have been done. But, you know, there's more gatefold opportunities out there, I suppose.
I love it. I think it's a strength of print. And I think that, you know, if you're trying to justify, like, oh, how do we were having this conversation recently with COVID-19 and everything about, like, oh, no, monthlies are going to go away. And I think that if you want to justify your existence, one of the ways you do that is you play to your strengths. And so it's when I flipped out this Vanguard #1, it was a nice surprise. I had forgotten about it. I flipped out the triple fold, and I was like, oh, shit, this is awesome. So I'm just saying, I wish more. Again, we're not doing page by page on this, but it's a thing you cannot not talk about.
All right. So let's...
Cannot not.
Cannot not. So credits on this issue. This was published October 1993. We got co-creator, editor Eric Larson, co-creator, writer Gary Carlson, penciler Tomm Coker, inker Jim Sinclair, letterer Chris Iliopoulos, colorist Brad Venkata, and correspondent weasel Josh Eichhorn. And there is a backup in this story. Oh no, this is not a backup. This is just, there's a second Vanguard logo. I guess it was its older logo.
It's weird.
It's a backup. It's the original. It's a reprint of...
Oh, it's a reprint of the
Vanguard
original. That's why they
from...
use the old logo. That makes sense. And that story is going to have art by Gary Carlson and art by Eric Larson.
Yeah, from Megaton 1.
Yeah.
Just a thing to hit on, just for listeners, Vanguard is a co-creation of Gary Carlson and Eric Larson. So they both own Vanguard. Gary came up, I think, with the concept, sent Eric a sketch... basically wanted and I hope I'm not walking over what you want to say, but wanted to create a Superman that was like Superman, but ugly, like kind of not necessarily ugly, but
basically
more alien-like.
an alien-looking Superman, and how that would play. If Superman wasn't handsome, would the world accept him? That kind of thing,
right?
And so
Eric, go ahead.
And his costume kind of reflects that. He's got the blue bodysuit, the red underpants. Sorry, Eric. And so he's got the Superman color scheme, without the chest logo, but he's got the weird head.
Yeah, and Eric designed him, so they're co-creators. And then Eric pulled Gary in to do the writing for this series.
It's funny, Eric describes Wally as originally Gary had him looking like an 8-ball, which is fucking hilarious. Yeah. It's just a funny visual, like.
Yeah.
Well, he recently, I think, posted it, didn't he, on the Eric Larson fan Facebook page, like the images?
If he did, I missed it.
I thought he did. I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's funny. Gary sent sketches, an ugly Astro Boy-like hair with his companion who looked like a flying 8-ball.
Ooh.
Funny.
So we go from Gary giving Eric work in Megaton back in the day to now Eric returning the favor
Now,
later.
I'm pretty sure Tomm Coker was the artist on the Vanguard Zero issue as well.
Yes.
So the art continuity is still good here. Now, I will say I think we gave that a lot of criticism, I think.
And that will continue.
Yeah, I don't think it improved much from here to there. To be honest, this is probably my least favorite looking issue of these 6 that we're going to be reviewing in the next 2 episodes. I mean, it's serviceable. You can tell what's going on, but there's some weird stuff going on with anatomy and...
Well, I think that if you look at the original Megaton issues, I mean, Vanguard is just like built like Superman. He didn't get big until the 2nd issue of Vanguard, which we'll talk about. So I'm wondering if Tom just kind of modeled him off of the Vanguard stories because that's all there was at the time.
Right.
And if you look at the cover...
But not even Vanguard. Supreme's all over the place.
Sure. But I'm just saying Vanguard in general is pretty scrawny compared to every other appearance after this.
That's true.
And it matches the old Megaton look. Except for when you look at the cover, he's like really built. So I wonder if the cover was done afterwards or whatever. It's a little weird because he looks like normal Vanguard on the cover, but the whole interior he's more like just looks like a buff regular human kind of.
Yeah, you're right. I hadn't even noticed. I think to what Jim was saying is that like Coker, his art is rough. There's stuff on here that I still find incredibly appealing. It's weird.
Yeah.
You know, again, we are not doing blow by blows, but if you want to flip through this, I think on almost any other page you're going to find something that is visually interesting or cool. And yet, man, there's just some roughness to it.
He's a young guy when he draws this. I looked it up and he was like 21 when he
21? There you go.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Yeah, they're just inconsistency. Like, you know, Jim said it. I think Supreme is just looks like a completely different guy on some pages. And it's just, I think there's things to love about this for sure. I think there is cool stuff, but man, he draws some, just everyone in this is ugly as shit.
Some of it feels extreme influenced. Some of the art.
Well, yeah, I mean, Supreme's in it, so you kind of get that feeling. The cover in particular seems kind of extreme based. I gotta wonder if maybe he came over from Liefeld's camp in general.
I don't know.
Don't know. I'm looking at his work history. He does a lot of covers after this. Not very many interiors, and usually it's on stuff you've never really heard of. Like, actually, did he even draw this?
He does like Exiles, I think.
Well, no.
Atlas,
again, I looked that up. Those are covers, not the interiors. Like he did 5 issues of Near Death, but it was just the covers.
Gotcha.
But
he's here and there, but nothing like there was. I couldn't find any like big runs of anything or.
Yeah. Like, I think like I'm looking at here. It says he did 6 issues of Agents of Atlas for Marvel, but I double checked it. No, Leonard Kirk drew that. I'm pretty sure he did backups in them. Or no, he did cover work on them, is all. So yeah, there's nothing like really significant to like compare like how he's improved or what he's really doing these days.
Yeah,
I do want to see. I think the coloring is commendable on this.
See, I'm on the opposite camp.
I also don't much care for the color either, to be honest. It's all very bland.
Well, before I praise it, go ahead and tell me what you guys don't like.
No, you go first.
Yes. Well, I'll say this. Okay, so yes, obviously there's very wonky early digital coloring shit. There's airbrushing stuff that just falls and it's not good.
Like those blue highlights on the very first page. I don't care for that on Supreme's face.
And in the hair, very weird rendering. Yeah. There's stuff like that that's just oog city. I do not like it. It doesn't land. Then you get into Vanguard's ship, and I think that all the different flat coloring on the computer monitors is a cool visual. And I think that when when Supreme hurls Van's ship, I think that effect of all like the rainbow bursts because the ship's traveling like, light speed fast.
Right.
I think that's a cool coloring decision. And, again, like, there's that bizarre, like, so much pain, must make it stop. And I think it was a clever use of color holds to kind of sell, like, what Coker was doing there.
Yeah.
I think there's commendable stuff. At least this is interesting, I think, visually. So it's bad because even Larson's, artistically, even Larson's backup has art stronger than Coker's work.
Yeah, and it was like 10 years old at this point.
Yeah, it's literally his first published work. And he goes, it's funny, he says in the credits, he's like, oh, go easy on me, don't be, it was my first job, don't be too harsh. Eric's, Vanguard backup is stronger than the art in the fucking, beginning of the issue. So, yeah, it's a hodgepodge.
Yeah, I think Vanguard. I think the coloring suffers the same as a lot of the early stuff.
It's weird though too because it's colored by the same guy.
Yeah, the weird thing is that the color, the palette is so all over the place. I'm so thankful that it never really showed up that much in Dragon, where a lot of these kind of spin-offs have this palette that's just like a million colors. You know what I mean? And the ugly greens and neons and I don't recall that really much showing up in Dragon, which I think was good. But I see it in a lot of these early Image comics everywhere.
Well, again, it's digital coloring is emerging, and so they're doing things that literally were impossible. You literally couldn't make a page look like this. Again, like you said, for better or for worse. So this early 90s shit, it's hit or miss because of that. They're experimenting, They're fucking learning what they can do. And I think they kind of went overkill. There are pages on this that just look like a fucking nightmare for coloring.
The first real glimpse we get of Vanguard's teleporter, which we will see time and time again, is pretty detailed and crazy looking. And then it just turns into 3 sticks eventually.
Yep,
yeah,
3 sticks that go clack, clack, clack.
Yeah,
but I like those stylized 3 sticks better because this version of the teleporter looks like the bottom of a camera tripod.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I like the three sticks that pop out look cooler.
Yep.
Yeah, Supreme, man. So what do you guys? All right. So how do you guys feel about Jerk Supreme here?
I mean, it's the usual stuff. He's not, he's fine.
I think he's a good concept.
I love him.
I think Liefeld, really had a great idea. Superman takes off for 50 years, kind of comes back as an asshole.
It's funny.
I thought it was a cool concept.
You want what's funny is that was almost the plot of Kingdom Come.
Yeah. Right. And in some ways it is, but yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Supreme precedes Kingdom Come.
Yeah. You're right.
So it's kind of funny because Kingdom Come, everybody's like, "Oh, it's so cool!" Oh, and I'm like, fucking, that's Supreme.
Well, it's all in the execution,
right? I like Supreme though. The thing is I think
I like
Supreme.
Cool. I like Supreme too. I just don't like Liefeld's way of doing Supreme.
He was involved with it so little, is what's funny. I'm just saying, the extra, Liefeld, had not too Jerk Supreme. Are you saying you don't like Jerk Supreme?
No. I'm saying I'm not saying I don't like Jerk Supreme. I'm saying the way he's used. We read that one Supreme issue for the crossover cast, and he's just so boring. He comes back and he just beats people up, and he isn't even consistent about it. It's not like Solar Man, who comes in and just murders everybody.
Yeah,
because Solar Man I think was a little better done of concept wise. Solar Man just comes back, just murders everybody who jaywalks. Yeah. Supreme doesn't quite do that, although he's willing to do it.
Solar Man is the superior Supreme for sure. Yeah. I think it's cool though.
Well, I think Solar Man is just a twisted villain. He's just snapped. Where Supreme is still a hero, but he's more a vigilante. He's like if Punisher became Superman, basically.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, even in this issue, like I said, I think he's got cool, motive. He's, he says he knows their race and he doesn't want Earth dragged into their war, which is what's kind of funny is think about what actually did happen.
Right.
Did fucking not the aliens come and, tear up fucking Earth pretty good?
Yeah, the Tyrus Combine.
Yeah, Supreme was actually right.
Who, I don't think it name dropped once in this series. Now that I think about it.
No. they only talk about.
It's a vague
his
threat.
race.
It's not defined.
Maybe.
Yeah. Kleptus. But no, I think it's cool. I think it's a cool use of the shared universe.
Well, how do you guys feel about having crossovers for your first issue? I'm not.
That's what I was gonna say,
am
too.
not a fan because it always feels like you're using somebody else's character to get cred. I mean, in a way, Super Patriot did this too because it had Die Hard and Youngblood in the first issue. And and while I understand that it's cool to have characters cross over, I just don't think they should be in the first issue.
Well, I tell you what I like about it. Here's what I like about it on this Vanguard one, and I like it even more. What's funny is, like, I read that, like, Gary wanted to have Vanguard be his ugly Superman, but I like it even better when I think about it that way. Because what's funny is, if you think about it, what you have is two versions of Superman here.
Right.
And so, Vanguard spends very much the beginning of the issue getting his ass kicked.
He does.
And then he uses technology and, his suit and the power-draining gun to, like, siphon the power off. And it's kind of cool because it's like, and then he beats Supreme up a good bit,
Right.
And it's just kind of one of those things where I was like, you know what? I like it.
Yeah, it's two dichotomies. It's like the 18-year-old Superman, and this guy's kind of just like a TV junkie and just a goofball and just super young and inexperienced, versus like the grizzled kind of war veteran Superman that's just angry.
Yeah.
It's a good matchup.
Yeah,
but I do see what you're saying about, like, it does take the shine off of Vanguard a little bit to start off with.
I mean, think about it. At the
Supreme
end of his
taking-
first issue, he gets beat up and thrown in jail.
I mean, but he did get to beat up on a Superman level threat.
He got a few licks in, sure.
Don't you think that's more interesting than him standing above the city like, I guess I'm here to help Earth? I think it's more interesting, like, to have him end up in jail.
Yeah, and they have to have a way to bring him down to Earth, because he's supposed to be just out in space, not visible to anybody. So there's got to be a good way, a good threat to justify him now being known.
Right. I mean, I get it. I'm just saying. I'm just spitballing here because I've started to see a pattern with these early Image books. Is that this seems to happen a lot, where every first issue they try to cross over with something.
Right. Don't get me wrong. That's probably a money decision too. It's like, hey, we want to bring some of those extreme fans over to this side of the Image universe. Let's throw Supreme in because everyone wants to get every appearance of Supreme or whatever it is,
Right. Well, plus too, I mean, it makes sense for what they were doing. Like, they're working that shared universe. So, like, you have Vanguard, who looks more like a traditional superhero than many of the Image, early Image characters. What's going to help give him a little push? Throw fucking Supreme in there, you know what I mean? That instantly puts him in as part, instead of standing out, that instantly makes him part of the Image universe. He's fighting Supreme. It's like, okay.
And yet, it only lasted 6 issues.
I know, dude. I can't fight against you.
It's a weird decision too, like, to have all these different artists across the series, which is strange in itself. But then to start it with seemingly the least experienced artist.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the thing, is it's so crazy. Like, I'm looking at the pile of issues here, and I would say that, like, Coker's your weak link out of all these artists. He's definitely the one that's, like, the least experienced and the least visually interesting.
And even then, too, even when you take this in context of the time period,
the
other guys are already doing other stuff.
Yeah, so it's like, if I was going to start this series, like, you put Joe Mad on number 1. You know what I mean?
Or Leonardi or Angel Medina, I don't know.
Yeah, yes, dude. Even Jason Pearson, who did number 2.
Well, let's talk about...
Yeah, but I don't even know what he had out then.
Well, I can tell you because I know all about Jason Pearson.
There you go.
So let's go into issue number 2.
Issue number 2.
So issue number 2 was creator credits are Eric Larson, Gary Carlson, penciled by Jason Pearson, inked by Carl Story, and then lettered by Chris Iliopoulos. Editor Janie Wong is editor on this one. And
Eric's wife.
Right, and still Brad Venkata as colorist, and Josh Highcorn as the Beaver. And then there's also a backup story at the end here with Carlson and Chris Ecker, with pencils by Rob Haynes, and pencils and inks by Rob Haynes. So yeah, Jason Pearson, I'm familiar with because at the time this came out in November '93, and I believe for the last year Pearson has been drawing Legion of Superheroes with Keith Giffen.
Oh, of course you know then.
Of course I know. In fact, I'm reading those relevant issues right now. But over there, he basically Legion of Superheroes originally had Keith Giffen doing primarily all the art, but at issue 25, it jumped over to Pearson, and Pearson would do a number of issues going forward from there. Right. He would be the regular artist for almost 2 years. Now, he was doing something over on Legion because he was following Giffen's layouts, because we all know Giffen has really, he draws all his plots, and so you just follow the layouts to do the art. So, over on Legion, Pearson is doing very strict 9-panel grids. Very strict. No deviation. So, it's interesting to see in this issue, this is the first time I'm seeing him cut loose with, his layouts. And
that's great. With his style, I would never expect him to be a guy who just do 9-panel layouts.
Oh,
yeah, me either.
But I like his Legion stuff, and I think this, in a lot of ways, is a lot more cartoony than he was doing over there. I mean, he's got an animated style there, but here it's way through the roof.
I love it.
Especially the way he draws his women.
Love it, dude. I think it's a total home run.
Yeah, I mean, this reminds me of Body Bags, which I loved.
Which he will go on to do later, correct?
It's past 93.
And he also does Blood and Guts, which... It's Blood and Guts, right? That he did, which is one of my favorite early Dragon miniseries. I thought he killed it there. He gave Alex her awesome car and brought in a lot of cool little elements.
I think this is strong as shit. I mean, what's beautiful is that he does everything. I mean, dude, I'm telling you, this should have been your number one guy.
Just to interrupt
because
he was doing Deadpool at this time.
Yeah.
Because Eric talks about it, I think at the end of issue 1 about or something or 0. I don't know. He lists what the guys are doing that are going to be on Vanguard.
Right. It is worth mentioning that that was the genesis of all this. Is they had all these guys that they wanted. None of them could commit because all of them were doing something else. Instead, the idea was, hey, if none of you can do a series, I'll just get one issue out of all of you. Which, hey, I mean, I see the logic.
Before we get to
it
2,
landed.
Good.
No, Joe Mann.
Oh, that's I'm sorry. So let me just read this real quick. Yeah. This 2 sentences from Vanguard 1 from the page that will go on to be their letter pages. But Eric just writes a huge thing on there. But this part says, this issue is drawn by Tomm Coker, who did the Vanguard 0 story in Savage Dragon 2. The second issue is by Jason Pearson of X-Men Annual fame. The third issue is by Joe Madureira, the artist of Deadpool. The fourth issue is by Rick Leonardi from Spider-Man 2009. The fifth is by Angel Medina, former Megaton artist, and just finished up Warlock and the Infinity Watch. And the sixth issue is by Andy Smith, who has done some great issues of Silver Surfer. So that's where those guys, everyone is at this time.
And I mean, it's a fucking killer. What's funny is it's a killer lineup. I mean, there's not really much to complain about that. You got all kinds of crazy talent. I just think that Pearson here, I mean, he just kills it, dude. Everything about this is strong. It's still good, to this day. His faces are incredible. His body language is incredible. The technology in the background has, just little shades of that Dave Johnson.
This is my favorite issue of the series.
I just think he makes Roxanne look like a 14-year-old girl, which is a little weird. considering how
Everybody
she'll
did
look
Roxanne
later.
different, though.
Very different. I think she was the least consistent character in all 6 of these issues.
Yeah.
My one thing
I'll agree
with
with that.
Vanguard here, I feel like maybe, and I don't know, maybe Eric would have to tell us, but I feel like Pearson gives him his defining look of his build, unless Eric gave him notes or something. But like I said, this is the first time we see him as kind of big as he is. And also, what I like about Jason Pearson is what I think that some of these artists are missing is, though, even though he's an alien and he's weird looking, he's still kind of a handsome dude.
Yeah,
and I think it's
he's
hard
monstrous but handsome.
I think it's kind of hard for people to get that. I think it would be hard. Like, I can't imagine it's got to be kind of hard to hit that, especially with not a lot to look at.
Right.
In terms of issues or anything like that. So I feel like Pearson really nailed him being kind of a handsome dude and being like buff and basically what we see as Vanguard today.
Yeah.
That makes
I'll
sense.
agree with every bit of that. He nails and defines the look.
We also get the origin of Modem, who isn't actually named in this, where she was a scientist working on teleportation technology, and her DNA got screwed up, and she went from a very short woman to a very tall one.
She got hot, but she didn't like it. Popeye has a cameo in this. I'm sorry, I just have to say I love Easter eggs. So if you are reading this, dear listener, keep your eyes open for the Sailor Man himself. He's out there. And also, too, Modem's butt. Legendary panel. It's burned into my mind.
Well, you did say you read this one a lot.
I read this. What's funny is there's
quote
like
marks.
so Vanguard. We were kind of like
Check for wrinkly parts of the page.
you bastards. Vanguard. I have a bizarre connection too because like I was telling the fellows before the show started, I went back into this not knowing quite what all I had like read, as a kid, and I had 2, 3, and 6 like memorized. I was like, holy shit, dude! I've read 2, 3, and 6 so much. 1, 4, and 5, not so much. I could hardly tell you. But I will say that this is really good. This is strong as hell. I loved it. I think if this was number 1, sales would have been different. Like seriously, I think like if they had led with Pearson, like it would have been. And let me run this by you guys. What do you even think about like if they had just sort of like ditched an all-issue fight sequence down to like maybe like a page or 2, and then had mostly this issue be the first issue?
I think.
Yeah.
Don't you think that would have made a difference?
Maybe.
Because I just don't think that you really needed like a full issue of Supreme and
Or the Supreme
Van
fight could have been issue 0.
Yeah, agreed. This just it's funny to me because this series becomes so much more interesting. Like starting in issue 2. Like in issue 2, like I think everyone has more character, more personality. Like Vanguard's whole thing where he's just kind of like a stranger in a strange world and he doesn't speak the language and he's just misunderstood and he can't understand anyone. He can't even read. I just think it's instantly more
compelling. I have
compelling.
so much more to say about this issue than the others because it is the best issue in my mind. But I do think you need to set up...
Lay it on us, dude.
His whole... guy up in space secretly looking, and so you need to get to a point where you get him on Earth. So it takes a little bit of a setup to do that in a few pages.
Right.
Can I just talk about the cell he's in and how detailed and cool it is? Like when you look at like the first page, and I don't want to go page by page, but the detail Pearson did in like putting like the power dampeners or whatever on the chains and stuff like that is just neat. And we talked about this when we reviewed Savage Dragon 6, is that, 6 calls back to this issue. So this issue, the events happen first, and those 2 guards show up in 6. That's neat. My favorite scene in this book is the panel where, like, Vanguard, like, his face pops up in the window and scares the shit out of the guys. Like, I can, in my mind, I see that happening, like almost like in a horror movie or something. It's like a jump scene, you know? And it's just, it looks so cool because his head is so huge compared to them, and you get the real kind of enormity of Vanguard. It's just a great scene.
Mm-hmm. That sequence is fantastic.
And when he tries to break out, they upgrade his restraints significantly. I thought that was funny. Is how extreme they went with because previously he just had his arms like chained to the wall, chained to the ceiling, but after his first breakout attempt, they stick him in this like huge
giant fridge thing.
Looks like a pressure cooker.
Well, you know, Supreme tells him, he's like, don't worry about him. You know, without a suit, he ain't shit. And then, so of course, all they have is like he's restrained. But then, obviously, here he's punching through the super glass and all that shit. So yeah, like he's much, much, much stronger.
Yeah,
than,
I totally forgot
think,
until reading these first 2 issues about like how much his suit adds to his power.
He's Supreme level if he can get enough juice in there. It's cool.
And then there's also a backup in this issue.
That's interesting for our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fans.
Yep, we're finally getting that origin story we wanted for what's his face, Johnny Ryburn.
Johnny Ryburn.
So he was a
convict,
convicted killer. Got sent into space as a reduction of his sentence. Although
no, it's a suicide trip.
Oh, it's a suicide trip.
Yeah, it's a controversial one-way suicide trip. He's out there manning a probe that'll never come back.
Right, so he's out beyond Pluto and he runs into aliens. And he basically gets torn apart and then rebuilt as a cyberized
Death Watch is what he
guy.
Calls. No.
Although I don't think he calls himself Death Watch yet. No, that doesn't happen till Ninja Turtles. Yes, for the listeners.
But I love the idea here that Gary has written that like the alien doesn't really mean harm. It's just fucking coming trying to like communicate, and so it's mechanical. And when it goes to communicate, it's just like, you know, pumping fucking wires into him and stuff. And it's like, oh, you know, odds of survival, like low. Like it's like it's trying to like communicate with him, but it's like running wires into him and shit. And then like after it does, it's like, oh, oops, you know, this thing probably won't live. And then once like it gets in its mind his evil, fucked up serial killer thoughts,
yeah,
it becomes overwhelmed and it wants to break the connection. But he, like, fucking overwhelms it. I thought that... Dude, let me tell you something. Gary doesn't get anywhere near enough credit for good writing. Like, that's a great idea. That's such a fucking cool twist.
He didn't come exactly in peace, but he didn't intend for this to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this alien wasn't trying to, you know, fucking kill this dude, but he didn't really care too much either. But then once he makes the connection, he doesn't fucking want to keep it. And, like, Rayburn's like, boy, come on, I'm going to get you.
It is a funny concept.
And then, I love it, dude.
So,
I thought it was cool.
Did you guys notice this Tomm Coker pinup?
I think that was going to be the cover for issue 2. Yeah, I think that's Modem.
No.
I think
was that supposed to be Modem? That's what I think too.
I think so.
Goddamn titties too far apart, like crazy.
I mean, that's
crazy titties.
Look, see, I don't know why people draw them like that. I know that's how real titties work, but it don't look good.
I think
like,
it looks like you probably just
like,
copied a Playboy or something like that.
The coloring is not doing it any favor either. Like you want to talk about bad, like early computer coloring. There's that gross airbrush coloring that I was talking about. But then again, like, look how fucking ugly Vanguard looks. Look at his goddamn ugly giant teeth. You're going to try and make that your main character. And in the letters column, Augie writes in, and Augie is writing in about how Wizard Magazine is bagging on Vanguard's looks. They call him the stupid looking guy with Q-tips on his head. This is not okay. It's not this issue. It's in another issue. But like I'm just saying, like it's a shame because it's like, I think Vanguard looks fucking awesome. I think Vanguard has an excellent design. But when you look at this like fucking Coker pinup, this is
just
I swear to God,
the amount of
this is what
space
Deep
at the
Six
top of the
did.
pinup and everything. It just really makes me think that this was supposed to be the cover for 2, and that was supposed to be a modem. And it really looks
That
like
makes
he just
sense.
looked like just grabbed some kind of like swimsuit issue or something to do that modem drawing.
It's certainly not very good.
That's the subtitle on this picture. Too much space. And then the guy's eye level is right. The bald scientist, he's like eye level
It's
right
just-
with the boobs. And like it's like his eyes are looking at
No,
the boobs.
It's
It's just
There's
not
nothing
good,
on
dude.
that cover that makes me be like, I need to buy this book.
No. In fact, looking at this cover would make you
Yeah.
avoid Vanguard.
And then you look at the cover of Vanguard 2, and it's great. I think it's cool. Yeah. There's also
incredible.
another pinup in here, right, of that cover
funny.
recolored differently.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't that weird? It's like a first attempt coloring at the cover,
Yeah,
which I think the
they
cover did a
ultimately
better
went with
job.
a better choice. I think the green background kind of kills it, and then just, I mean, I guess they just went with just making her one kind of color, which kind of makes sense too.
The use of negative space, though,
Yeah,
on the cover
absolutely.
is strong as hell. Like, I think it's so much better executed than the one that they. It's cool though. It's
it's
a
a great
weird
cover.
thing,
I
but
like
it's
it.
very cool.
Although they made the Vanguard logo smaller to kind of fit it in, which is weird.
That's
It
true.
would
because,
cover her head.
That's right.
I mean, I guess they could have flipped
would.
it,
Yes.
but whatever.
I don't know.
Well,
I'm not a scientist.
And
Hello,
now,
scientist.
and now for the, I'm sure for many people, the highlight.
Well, wait.
of the
There's a
Vanguard
Freak
round.
Force number
Meh.
2 ad on the back cover, so that's where we're at.
We didn't talk about the ads in issue number 1. Real quick, we'll go back to the ads in issue number 1 because the wraparound cover made me forget that there was this one back ad about Art Thurbet.
Who was it? X-Men guy at the
Thurbert.
time.
Thibbert.
Yeah, he's doing covers for Supreme. Very exciting.
No. We
that was
got
the only ad in
inside
that
the
issue,
triple
so what
fold.
we got in
got
this
an
one?
ad for Super Patriot 4.
Oh, right. Yeah, that one was
I
there.
feel like there was
In the
something
way.
else. Am I wrong?
Yep.
Maybe I'm wrong. Okay.
No,
Yeah,
there was
you're
there
right.
was the backup, and that's it.
I do want to say I do like this backup. I'm not going to talk much about it. We're trying to stay slim and trim, but I really do like this backup. It's weird how well old Eric Art
Back up
holds
for
up.
what?
But
In
issue number
issue
one.
1. Yep.
yeah, and I'll be honest, the ads in issue number 2 are just Wildcats number 7, and we've already seen the Max versus Pitt cover,
So many times.
and Stormwatch Prime returns, and it is what that is. And yeah, the Freak Force 2 covers on the back of this one, so we know about when this was coming out in relation to that, which in a future episode we will be talking about very shortly.
How many dudes do you think in the early, mostly the Wildcats side of Image, how many dudes do you think look like Wolverine?
Many. I mean,
Like-
it was bad because Wildstorm had a few and
Yeah.
Extreme had a few.
I'm just looking at this Stormwatch ad. Look at the guy who's right by Jim
Yeah.
Lee's name.
Yeah,
It's just like, what if Wolverine had mutton chops?
Yeah.
Like long, flowy mutton chops.
and white
It'd
skin.
be Ripclaw.
Yeah.
I mean, what?
Yeah, well, I mean that's actually is that
No.
Ripclaw? I think
No.
Ripclaw has tattoos.
Ripclaw got the ponytail.
Or it'd be, who was the other guy?
Right.
Seahawk? Or who was
But-
the Blood Strike guy? Blood
You're
Strike
asking
guy?
the wrong fella.
I know. Who
Oh,
you
the
mean.
Bloodstrike guy. That's
can't think of his
he Michel Fife couldn't even make that guy cool.
Now that is saying something. Moving along, though, Vanguard 3, I'm sure, is the highlight for many people, just because you got big
And
flex
Dragon.
Joe Mad has come to play. Yeah, and Dragon. You got Joe Mad and it's like it's so funny. It's like they put all their they put all their oomph into this fucking number 3. You know what I'm saying? You got Joe Mad, you got Dragon. Like, you got a really good action sequence. I think the action in this was superior to the action in the Supreme versus Vanguard issue.
I'm going to say something controversial. I actually don't think the action in this issue is great because you spend almost all the issues Dragon versus Lurch. It's not even Dragon versus Vanguard. So
Readers
it's more.
don't know that.
It's more. No, you know that from the beginning.
I'm kidding.
So basically, you're watching Dragon make a fool of himself the entire time.
Well, it's Vanguard's book. It's okay for Dragon to be foolish.
But let's do those creators. We got Eric Larson, co-creator, editor. We got Gary Carlson, co-creator, writer. We got Joe Madureira. Joe Mad, penciler. Jim Sinclair on art, on inks. Chris Iliopoulos letters. We got 3 colorlists. We got Brad Venkata, Reuben Rude, and Steve Olive. So that's a lot of colorists. And we got a pimple-riddled fanboy, Josh Eichhorn. Separations by Olympics and film output by Kellyo Graphics. This was published December 1994.
I think...
Wait a minute. What the fuck? Last
Yeah,
issue was November 93. This was December 94? Is that
big
for
old
real?
gap, right?
Wow.
Yeah, big old gap.
Wow, no wonder this got canceled.
Yeah, in the letters column, and I hate to like call out names here, but like, you notice who's the artist on this big gap?
Yeah, I noticed.
So there you go. I mean, he's not exactly
that can't be
Joe.
true though, because there's a Freak Force ad for issue number 3 in the back. Maybe it's a typo.
He's not Joe Deadline. He's Joe Mad. So, yeah, I don't know.
I think that's a typo. I gotta check.
Moving along anyway, though, I just want to say that, like, you know, I think that Joe Mad brings it in this. I think it's absolutely fucking fantastic action.
It's a typo.
You talk about...
It's a typo. It's December 93, not 94.
Because number 4 comes
93,
out in
not
February
94?
No,
Okay.
it is because number...
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a typo. Joe Mad's not that bad.
Way to go, Raven. Just shit on him.
Yet.
Hey, he's doing good, guys. He's doing good. He got that video game company. He ended up all right.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad. But I think that this issue is strong as hell. I think like Joe Mad does a great Dragon. I think his Vanguard is cool as shit. I think his technology is fucking awesome. Lurch. This is your first real good look at Lurch, who, you know, as we know, became very important later. But, like, you know, there were many Morphlings. Lurch was a character. And so I think this was a fucking just a stellar issue, dude. Again,
kind of funny, he did Dragon versus Dragon first when you think about it.
Before anyone.
Yeah.
This was the genesis of the evil twin. Basically. But you know, you even get, like I said, like this is the genesis. Like you get Lurch, like, and
Lurch,
Jim, you know,
Lurch is that kind of like his face is like goo. Mm-hmm. That becomes pretty standard with his look, where previously it was more of just a blank face.
Right.
It looks like
so you
silly
get the
putty.
lumpy, gooey face on Lurch.
Yep. Right, I like it.
Craig, you nailed it, dude. I think of silly putty or clay. Like every time I see Lurch, I think of like silly putty or clay. You nailed it.
I will say Joe Mad does also maintain Roxanne's style from the Pearson issue, so at least there's some design continuity there.
I think he does the same with Vanguard
just
too.
a bit.
You know, that's where it can. No, it keeps the style.
Oh yeah. Otherwise, it's a fight issue. Dragon and Lurch fight, and then Vanguard briefly gets his suit back and fights, and eventually Roxanne brings the helmet, and all of misunderstandings are resolved.
But basically,
yeah,
this happened because Wally switched out Vanguard, teleported Vanguard out, which we saw last episode. So Lurch is sitting in the prison cell. Nobody realizes he's not Vanguard anymore. It's a little silly because then like Dragon kind of just punches him in the face because he's not moving. And it's like, whoa. And even Frank says it. It's like, you can't do that.
It's
and then,
great.
He turns into Lurch, and Dragon's like, see, it's not an alien. But how does Dragon know that, Vanguard isn't some kind of shapeshifter or something like that?
Good point.
Well, it's cool.
Yeah.
Dragon's got detective work here. Like, the thing is Dragon's using his ability to detect throughout this issue. I kind of liked that because you see Dragon using common sense and he's putting two and two together.
But then he thinks it is Vanguard again because when Lurch reforms as Vanguard, so I think he does kind of get a thought that Vanguard could be some kind of shapeshifter alien.
Yeah, that's the mistake he makes. At first he's like, dude, the alien got away. And then when Lurch starts shape-shifting, he's like, oh no, the alien's a shapeshifter. So yeah, he makes the mistake. It's funny because he was right, and then he gets it wrong.
It is funny that the whole issue is Vanguard in his underwear, trying to get his costume back.
Trying to get a sandwich.
Why'd you say it that way?
Oh, I heard it somewhere before.
I love it. I just wanted to say that, I think this is a cool issue just for all the different reasons, all the things it does. You see Vanguard being moral, he's helping the dude that gets mugged. You see Dragon, beating the shit out of Lurch, using detection, but he's not so much of a dick that when he realizes he's wrong, he just shakes hands, whatever. I also think it's cool that you see them literally refer to actual aliens as illegal aliens, which is something that Savage Dragon still uses that terminology that way to this day. They literally refer to if you're not from Earth, you're an illegal alien. It's
Gary
funny,
does a good job maintaining kind of the Savage Dragon highbrow universe tone of a mix of silliness and heroics. And one of my favorite scenes of the series, also second to the one of Vanguard appearing in the window, is when Vanguard's messing around with Lurch. He's trying to fix his programming, and he's opened up the back of his head, and that girl's like, "Oh my god, that alien's eating that man's brain." I thought that was hilarious. Yeah. But there's a lot of cool little humorous, especially Wally brings a lot of humor to it. There's a lot of the TV references and stuff like that. That makes it fun. Mm-hmm.
Question: a sequence that has never worked for me. When Van gets shot in the shoulder, Frank goes, "No, his suit's bulletproof," and Dragon grabs his eyes and says, "Oh crap!" And then on the next panel, Dragon's on his knees. Did the bullet come back and hit Dragon? What the hell?
I think so.
Wait. You're gonna have to point that. You have to tell me what page that is. Give me more.
Also,
okay.
The
It's
speech
very
bubble
last
for
page.
"Oh crap" is not
Van,
in, which is weird.
Right. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I think it may have singed his eyes. Yeah, I think that might be the idea.
Glanced his eyes.
Really
it's just a bizarre sequence.
His most vulnerable area.
No, not my eyes. And then it's just kind of, that's always, I told you I read this issue way too much. All these years, I've always been what? Did the bullet hit Dragon in the eyes?
Especially since we've seen bullets just bounce off Dragon
It's
too.
a weird thing. And he's fine, literally, it's not like the bullet struck his eyes out because he doesn't heal up so fast. It's not so it's kind of I am at a complete loss as for what happened in that moment.
Yeah, I thought he did a good job drawing Frank throughout. Frank looks cool. It's cool to see.
Yeah,
with his big anime eyes.
It's cool to see Frank in
Darling.
it a lot, as kind of a partner in this, because you don't really get that much. I like the use of of Vanguard's helmet to explain how he can understand English and stuff, and how that's.
You know that page at the end with Frank where he's looking at Lurch.
Mm-hmm.
If you look, he's making the same face as Vanguard on the opposite page. A little sideways glance thing.
Lurch.
The one just before the bullet ricochet.
The one where he's Dragon?
Yeah, Dragon.
Yeah.
And then you're saying his face is just sounds like I've been spotted?
Well, yeah, but I'm saying on the page before it, you see Vanguard making the same face.
The lifted eyebrows.
Right.
Yeah. Whoop. The sound effect. Whoop.
But good. This was good, dude. I like this. I feel like this if this was number one. And then, of course, it ends with the stinger that Wally shows up and is like, "You must die, Vanguard," and blasts him, which was a good stinger. I mean, that was a crazy cliffhanger to me.
The colors are much better than when you compare it to like. Well, you compare it to the first
too,
issue.
so you might just be getting better.
When you look now, and you can just see the difference.
Although, actually, Reuben Rude and Steve Olive also worked on this. So, it might have been a team effort making it look so good.
It's just getting better, that's all. It's just getting better. Practice.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I agree. You don't really have so much, weird choices. You know what I mean? You also don't see a lot of that shabby airbrush work. Like, there's, I don't know.
I'll be honest. You saw that more in the earliest Image titles, like the 1992 stuff. By now, I think people are realizing it's not working.
It's funny. I mean, we saw it last issue, like that shabby airbrush work, and then on this issue, it's like almost nowhere to be seen. So it's kind of cool that they realized so quick that that doesn't look good. You know what I mean? But, yeah, no real backup in this one. Just a meaty
Did you see where in the
letters
beginning of the
page.
letters page, Eric talks about that pinup from the last issue? Where he says, the pinup at the end of Vanguard 2 is a Titanic Tomm Coker's original design for the villainous from that very issue. So I'm guessing that was supposed to be the cover. Because he's saying it was supposed to be Modem.
Dude, they dodged a bullet. They dodged a bullet. Man, Modem's final design was so much cooler than what Coker did.
Looks like there's a big crossover going on over at Wildstorm. With running through Wildcat, Cyberforce. I guess just Wildcats and Cyberforce. Don't miss the stunning conclusion.
The ad copies are they're so
They
ugly
gave her
back
their
then
hearts.
when you look at it now with 20 whatever years on.
They gave her their hearts. She ripped them in two. And they're both Wolverines. Like these, like we were talking about. There's Ripclaw, and I think his name is Cyblade.
Character too. Look at her like claw fingers.
Yeah, she's got Lady Deathstrike sort of thing going on with her fingers, which I'm sure. What am I trying to say? Jim Lee was responsible for too, so that makes sense.
Oh yeah,
he did like his claw hands.
This crossover happens during Cyberforce 1, 2, and 3. It says Wildcats 5, Cyberforce 1, Wildcats 6, Cyberforce 2, Wildcats 7, Cyberforce 3.
You know you're in trouble when you're doing crossovers that early.
it's berserk. And what's funny too, you look at these house ads. I mean, I don't mean to skip Pitt. Like I think Pitt's like if you want to talk about like Dale Keown,
You dunk on that kid again?
leagues above his like peers there. I think it's fucking awesome. Like that Pitt ad looks sweet. But what I really want to draw attention to is your Batman and Spawn
they didn't waste
crossover.
any time.
They didn't fuck around. Think about that. How quick they got into that shit.
I'm sure DC called him up right away as soon as he left Marvel too, and was like, "Hey,
You really think that's the direction it went?
yeah."
Well, I guess
Probably.
that would make sense if they left Marvel. DC
Yeah,
would be rubbing their
course.
hands together.
Oh yeah.
When this Image Comics thing
Or we'll
failed, just swoop in, pick them all up.
McFarlane was the hottest thing in the world, in the comic world, right at this point. The hottest, the biggest. Probably will never be an artist as big as McFarlane was at this point. Yeah, dude.
Really that big?
Dude.
Yeah, he was huge, dude. It's
He only drew like 5
What do you mean he
comics.
only drew 5 comics?
I think only
Like
Jim
5
Lee
titles?
was bigger though.
It's a joke, but I didn't think he drew that many Spider-Man issues.
He drew
in
quite
the
a
grand
bit,
scheme
and then
of
he
things.
drew the regular Spider-Man title. So he was on Amazing for a while, the regular Spider-Man. He was on Batman for a bit. Hulk, he was on Hulk.
It's Spawn he dropped off of real quick.
Yeah, I mean, like I think I was saying on one of our FinCasts, or maybe it's one that we're gonna published in the future.
Might be one from the future.
But when I was a kid, I mean, his covers were on everything, and you just bought it because it was McFarlane, because you wanted to see new McFarlane art. I mean, I was there when he was like the biggest thing, and let me tell you, like, I don't look at it the same. It's nostalgia, but every kid I knew was like wanted to draw like Todd McFarlane.
I still put Jim Lee above him only because I think Jim Lee spawned way the fuck more clones. Like, dude, there are not very many McFarlane clones, but goddamn, everybody and their brother tried to draw like Rob Liefeld or Jim Lee.
He called Silvestri to change his style.
There were
I'll tell you
quite a
that
lot
much.
of McFarlane clones out there too. Awful clones too. Really bad. Yeah.
Most of them were awful.
Yeah.
Goddamn, look at that Jim Lee. Look at that Pitt ad, though. Jim, you're telling me you don't like those neck veins?
No.
Look at all those goddamn
neck
veins.
veins are one of those things it's very off-putting. Like when people put them on Dragon, it's big nope.
Look how mad he is. He's like, oh, fucking damn it. Doesn't he just look...
I don't know. It just does not appeal to me.
Yeah, I was in love with Dale Keown.
You just want to see that guy hit something.
He looks so generic. He's the Hulk with no nose.
No,
Sharp
he's
claws.
got a ponytail and a vest.
Although now that I think about it, this guy was probably the guy who drew Hulk with no nose, because that was a whole thing for a little while.
Hulk always has a little tiny nose.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm pretty sure this Pitt
guy says, "How dare you? How dare you? This is my childhood." No, Dale Keown was another guy. Like, all these guys on these image books, I'm telling you. I know you're a little younger than I, but they could do no wrong when we were kids. And still, I feel like that with Dale Keown. His art is amazing. I know you're not a big fan. It still blows me away.
It's still good.
I would have... well, listen, I would have been about 10 years old at this point. And I had read some Spider-Man at this point. And I was starting to get into comics. And I looked at this image stuff in Wizard Magazine, and I didn't.
Maybe the wave was winding down.
Why are the muscles so? Why are the muscles so big? Why are the girls so tiny?
Oh, dude!
Hey man, these things sold millions.
Do it better.
Look at those veins. Look at those goddamn veins.
But honestly,
it's so good, dude. That logo looks like blood.
But,
you know, his cut. Good.
I would be. I was the kind of kid that I wouldn't even want to be caught looking at these comics because I would get looks from my parents. This was embarrassing.
Man, I just thought I saw Dale Keown.
Or at least I felt that way,
and I was like, "Oh my god, this is the best thing." I know you feel different, but at that time, and like I said, I'm not going to apologize. I still think Dale Keown murders most artists out there when you look at his stuff.
Dale Keown's bad to the bone. Yeah, he's still a badass, dude. You Google his shit, it's fucking like the shit he's making now is like heads and shoulders above shit that's fucking being made. Oh, it's so good, dude. Freak Force number 3. Look at these purple motherfuckers attacking the Freak Force. Yeah, dude. We all remember that too.
Coming up, that'll be one of our next FINcast retros.
Yep. Two or three more.
I like
episodes.
Super Patriot's gun. He's got that one tube that's just hanging up there for some reason. It's still like transforming.
Mm-hmm.
It's still coming down.
Extra tube.
Yeah,
that's the scope. The rest of them are for.
He's not wrong. It is the scope.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Now that I'm looking at it, because it's kind of on his eye line.
Look at these the Bruise crew. Purple. It's just so purple. And then look at I'm telling you, dudes, we got to add for Spawn 20, dear listeners. It's just Malbolgia sitting in his throne. And does anyone else think that Malbolgia is just fucking stupid looking?
Yeah, those thighs.
He's not intimidating at all. Yeah,
his beer gut, like very thin arms.
Very Jane hair from Spider-Man. And he was still like using that style.
Yeah, dude. I think and he's just got Violator mouth. Only he's huge, so the mouth isn't huge, just like normal size.
Scrawny ass arms.
Yeah, I think Malbolgia. Yeah, he fucking sucks, dude. He looks like if you really like started fighting him, all you'd have to do is just
isn't he,
break
like,
his arm.
huge?
I mean, like if he kicked you, it'd be over. But he's a giant. But I don't give a fuck. He still looks stupid.
By Spawn 20, McFarlane isn't drawing the interiors anymore, right?
It's got to be close to him leaving on there, if not already.
He only did like 7
And then I
issues
think
of Spawn.
Was it Angel Medina
So-
or?
Greg Capullo
I think
and
it was
Angel
Greg
Medina
Capullo,
are
then
like the
Angel
fucking
Medina
heavy
came,
hitters
and
of
then Greg
Spawn.
Capullo came back. I think, but Greg Capullo's art back then doesn't, is way different than what it eventually becomes.
Oh yeah. Capullo is another one of those. This is just a
Yeah.
fucking total monster.
But
He's
this
awesome.
ad for Spawn.
What is the
Dude,
pact?
Does he really need to write like 6 paragraphs? Like, who's gonna read that? I don't care. I'm looking at that. I'm like, I don't need to read this.
Yeah, you're right. For the listener, what you have is you have an image of Malbolgia, black and white too. There's no color in this ad, which is fucking weird because Spawn
probably
is
'cause it
in
wasn't
color,
ready
so I
yet.
don't know why this ad is black and white. I mean, that's what I'm saying because what's funny is I like it. All right, so here's how you flip to the other side. All right, well, the other side is black and white. Technically, it might have been a cost-saving measure, but this is not even shaded.
What do you mean
It's
the
just
other side is black
Malbolgia
and
sitting
white?
in a fucking chair.
I think it means interior front cover.
Yeah, the
Oh,
interior
okay,
front
yeah.
cover is also black and white. So technically, it could have been printed in black and white to be cost, but I think it probably just wasn't ready. But like you have fucking Malbolgia sitting in a chair for the listeners, and he's like, it's a giant rectangle. It fills up almost most of the page, but it's a weird rectangle. Then you got the Spawn face logo, like 3 fucking paragraphs that just don't compel you to read, and then Spawn's logo right there. It's weird.
Still almost monthly.
Yeah, what a tagline. Still almost monthly. Still only $1.95. Wow, dude.
So that's Vanguard issue number 3.
Well, there's an ad for the Pact. And
Oh,
what
right,
the
the
fuck is
Pact.
the Pact?
Who fucking knows? The only pact I remember is when Valentino revived him as like a crossover thing with Invincible.
Yeah, this
and
is the
Shadowhawk.
pact. This is Valentino.
This must be a
It is.
This must be a Valentino vehicle,
It
or at
is.
least
Okay.
part of Shadowline
The art
for that. Yeah.
Coming
does
at you
nothing
like a
for me.
freight train.
What an
No, it
impression!
doesn't.
See this right here is generic image art.
Spit
1.1.
lines on the mouth.
Yeah.
This is what Pitt looks like.
Get out! Oh my god, dude!
Fuck out of here.
You know what, guys?
outta
This will be my
Look at the
last
veins in that man's
podcast
neck.
with the Savage FinCast. I'm sorry.
You know what? I know when you're joshing me, and you're joshing me. You're joshing me with that. The Pact does not look like Del Keown art. Thanks.
You're hurting my
You're
soul.
joshing me. Well, I mean, that's it, folks. 1, 2, and 3. Bam, boom, bam, in the can. So I guess we'll see you in an upcoming Savage FinCast Retro, where we will be covering the rest of the Vanguard miniseries, Vanguard 4, 5, and 6.
So thanks for listening, everyone. Of course, you can always drop us an email at savagefincast@gmail.com or leave a message on our website, savagefincast.com. Or you can find us on Facebook at the Savage Dragon Eric Larson fan group, where we always hang out and are always looking to hear from you.
I think you can find Jim on those anti-Del Keown Facebook groups, too.
It's not anti if you're just ambivalent.
The anti-neck vein groups on Facebook.
I don't care for the neck veins. The tendons. How many tendons does a neck need?
So hold on. We talked about Vanguard. I'm sorry, listeners. I'm sorry. I gotta ask this. We talked about Vanguard number 3. There's neck veins galore on that cover.
Well, I didn't say I'm a fan of Joe Madden either. Gasp at that one, buddy.
Controversial.
I like the Pearson issue
I
artistically
gotta agree.
a lot more.
I get you.
This Joe Mad issue really.
Well, I mean,
like his
yeah,
art, but
of
this
course.
Joe Mad issue didn't blow me away art wise. But I thought it was a decent, one of the better Vanguard art issues.
Yeah, I mean,
So you're telling me Red Monica saunters up to you and you say, gross, get out of here. You freak. You look like a freak, Red Monica.
she does.
All right.
He goes pretty hard on the style, but I think his art got a little bit better by Battle Chasers. But even Battle Chasers didn't really super appeal to me.
What do you think about his Darksiders art, the modern Joe?
Oh,
Mad?
I don't really care about that either. I mean, I care even less about that because it's not comics.
Joe Mad, I love your art. If you want to send me free merchandise and art, you can just at Ravens Dojo on Twitter. I'm your friend of the show. Come on, we'll interview you.
I mean, I guess he drew some X-Men comics I liked. Okay.
No, I think he got way better
right.
as it went on. Like this Vanguard stuff, still his earlier stuff. He goes leaps. He gains a lot. Battle Chaser's a lot different.
Yeah. He's a
than
monster.
Vanguard, I feel like, at least.
Craig, if you haven't seen his video game art, look up Joe Mad Darksiders. Holy shit, he's in a whole nother other league. Yeah, it puts the work he's doing for his video game companies puts his comic art.
I just remember he was
like
doing Battle
shit.
Chasers and left to do the video game stuff, and everybody felt so deflated in the comics world because they wanted more Joe Mad art, and he was just like, peace.
Dude, he did an interview and he said, to me, video games are truly the perfect dominant art form. You can tell stories that no other medium. And I was like, goddamn Judas.
He could do
goddamn
no wrong
Judas.
before he left, and everybody loved Battle Chasers. And then I remember he came back, and I want to say it was like 10, 15 years ago after leaving. And
he had the pencil art.
Like
remember the pencil? Everything was pencil?
He blew it because like people were so hyped on him, and then he left, and then it kind of fizzled out. I mean, he still had his fans, and people still liked his art, but he just never got back to that same level.
Well, do you remember, like, when he came back, everything was
sketchy.
pencil? Like, they were putting digital coloring under his pencils. And I was like, no, dude, he needs an inker. Like, as tight as his pencils are, and they are super tight.
I'm not a big fan on
he needs an inker because that pencil
just being colored.
I've never seen a colored pencil with color look good, ever.
No, me either. And they love the idea because they can skip an inker, but it's like, haha, surprise.
You either got to ink and color, or you have to paint over it. You can't see the lines. You got to paint it, like Alex Ross does.
Look at, if you're a listener and you want to see, go for those. I think it was like late 2010 era. Joe Mad came back with some pencil shit on like Spider-Man and Hulk or something like that, and it's just, it doesn't do it. It's you can tell it's like super lavishly drawn.
Now, to be fair, at that time at Marvel, they were trying to do that on a lot of titles, trying to go straight from pencils to color.
They were trying to fuck inkers.
I don't know if it was a fuck inkers thing or a cost saving thing, but it was an experiment that was line wide on a bunch of things, and it all looked bad.
You have
trying to make it look like animation art, really, right?
Eric's talked about.
Oh, this is like Disney, like animation
something
art.
like that.
Well, Eric has talked about it before, even on this show. Pencilers were never meant to be that tight. When you pencil, it's meant to be loose. The inker is meant to be as much a finisher as an inker.
Right.
Like, he's not just meant to trace over your work. He's meant to like bring life to it and finish
is good,
your rough work.
Term.
Well, I mean, Eric has his perspective because, you know, who he is and all, but it was my understanding that inkers were more because the printing process required black lines in order to reprint properly.
So that's not wrong. You're not wrong that like inking was born because reproduction of pencils was not good initially. And so what they did is, just like with digital coloring, they were like, oh, you know, we can reproduce pencils 1-to-1. We should skip inkers. But the problem is that you and penciling was never meant to be as tight, but you had guys like Joe Mad that his pencils looked almost finished. You're like, holy shit, these pencils are just ready to roll. Like, why are we even inking this? It's a whole unnecessary step. But the problem is that you know, pencils don't have the value scale that ink does. Ink is just solid black. Like, of course it's got more impact than if you put like this gray shaded. Yes, you have less shading and you have to use like tricks like hatching and stuff to emulate shading, whereas with a pencil you can just fucking shade. But a solid black is going to have more impact than a pencil shade, no matter what.
Too. I mean, you've got, 50, 60 years of comic art done a certain way. It's not as appealing, It's just like movies, you know, the technology now, all those lens flares and things like that are put in. They don't, with the cameras they have now and all that, you don't have lens flare. But you're used to it, and it brings out a certain feeling or feel, or it's just appealing. And I think that's what ink, you know, to me, it's just more appealing. I mean, of course you could print comics that are just in pencils. It just, to me, in my eye that's been trained to like inks, I think that's why. I think it just looks better too.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I mean, maybe if we never had inks in comics, no one would care.
No, you're not wrong. I mean, that's the thing is, like you said, it's just like we're talking about, like going against decades, and it's just definition.
Yeah.
Like a black line defines it, and you have, like, you know, stark contrast. And then when you go to pencil, no matter how well shaded it is, no matter how many values you gain of grayscale, because you gain like infinite more values of grayscale, but you just, bam, you're missing that impact,
and just
that stark contrast.
Line weights
it means
and all
so
that
much
stuff.
more.
It's just, yeah.
All right, Savage Artcast is over.
Over.
Thank you, listener.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Craig.
Till next time.
Thanks, everybody.